We nod our heads as we sit here thinking out of the other side of our head, thinking of that problem that's against us, that's trying to take our good from us. But there's only love. Okay, that didn't make you laugh, which means I'm right. I can read your minds. I know what's going on in there. And good news for us is that we're going to talk about that today. We've been looking at how to live our spirituality, and it's something that we can either just figure it out for ourselves, or we can follow someone else's path. If you're sitting here at Unity today, or you chose to watch us online today, then if you're new to us, you might not know what's ahead for you. If you've been watching for a while now, you kind of have a feel for how we take, what approach we take when it comes to dealing with our troubles. And living our spirituality means not only understanding our spirituality, but also being able to put it to use consciously in our day-to-day lives. Put it to use consciously in our day-to-day lives. How many of us are even, conscious about anything, let alone our spirituality in our day-to-day lives? So that's why you're here. That's why you're watching online, hopefully, is to be reminded of who you are and how the universe works. And we've been talking about that. Last week, we talked about this law that runs the universe. It's our operating system. And we talked about how it functions and how we might function with it. Or let's put it this way, how it functions whether we are trying to function with it or not. Because that's what the nature of divine law is. Something that works for everyone all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. And we can use it for our good, or we can misuse it. And the good news is we can get conscious in any moment and use it for good. And this is nothing new. The Secret probably came out just about the time I was finishing up seminary. Anybody seen that movie or read that book? Seriously? Oh, okay, there you are. Didn't want to admit it, is that it? No, okay. Yeah, so it kind of made it feel like, oh, this is new on the scene. But the truth is, this has been around since before the universe began. And this particular person just happened to name it the law of attraction. Does that ring a bell? The law of attraction? Okay, so as I said, it's been around since before I was in seminary. And I want us to talk a little bit about how Jesus and the writers of the Bible knew about this law and was trying to say it in such a way that people would apply it to their everyday lives. So we're going to give you a little work to do here today. I'm going to bring some scriptures up here on the screen, and notice they're in different colors. So this section over here up to the aisle, you're going to be the white print, and this group here is going to be yellow, and this group, everybody else over here is going to be blue, and we're going to take turns reading this. So let's say these together. White. Truly, the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. That doesn't sound very good, does it? Okay, what does this one say from Proverbs? Together? As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And then over here, let it be done for you according to your faith. All right, over here. If you have faith, nothing will be impossible to you. Whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. All things can be done for the one who believes. If you do not doubt in your heart, but believe that what you say will come to pass, it will be done for you. You reap whatever you sow. The measure you give will be the measure that you get back. So if you look at those scriptures up there, what would you say the point of this law is? Why do we need this law? What is it supposed to be doing for us? Oh, we were going to use a microphone. Julie, come on up. This is where you can raise your hand and really tell us what you think. What's the purpose of this law? What do you think it's doing for us? Raise your hand over here in the back. Oh, there's two hands in the back. That's a fruitful corner over there. What's the purpose of this law? It's a microphone on. You just press the button until you get a light. Sorry, you guys, didn't have this ready for you.
Is it working? Yes. To show us what it is that we're really thinking about, and that we can manifest it as well.
Okay, thanks. Christina?
I see it as showing us that we are more in control of our good than we might think we are.
Okay, thanks. Who else can see what the purpose of this law is? Up here, raise in the second row.
Hi. To empower us to believe and live in the life that we dream.
I love that. That feels uplifting, doesn't it? Anybody else have something to say? Back in the corner and up front here. Rick, there he is.
Yeah, I'd say to give us more of what's in our heart.
To give us more of what's in our heart. And Kim Char's got one, and then we'll go on.
It reads to me like there's order in the universe, and we do particular things, and what follows.
Yes,
happens.
yes. So I also look at it as something, and some of us kind of said this, is this law is here to provide for our needs. That's good news. It doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of money to provide for your needs, and it doesn't mean you have to talk God into something. You, using this law on purpose for good, can create your heart's desire. So not only can we deal with what we don't like and transform it, but we can also use it to create what we want to experience. That's the purpose for this divine law, in Kitty's humble opinion. And now I'm going to ask you again, Julie, you ready? How do we engage with the law? How do we engage it? Oh, this is harder. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Be through our heartfelt thoughts and beliefs.
To our heartfelt thoughts and beliefs. And that's, anybody else have something? Susan?
I see pay attention.
Pay attention.
You know, conscious. Be
Yes.
conscious of what you're doing.
Yes. Okay, thanks. So that's the deal, people. We're looking at this law consciously, or we should be. That's our opportunity, is to look at it consciously. Because we engage with this law through our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs, whether we know it or not. That's the trick, whether we know it or not. And the law's responsibility at that point is to draw back to us what we've been storing here, what we're sending out with our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, the frequency of energy that those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs carry. The law then reflects back to us in like kind. And it doesn't take long. I mean, let me share with you what Jesus said. This is something you've probably heard before, but we're going to ask about it. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. What's the eye? Is it literally talking about the physical eye? What you set your sights on? Perception, perspective. Yeah. So if your perspective is healthy, what is healthy? Aligned with God, aligned with the divine consciousness. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body, your whole life experience will be full of light. If your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. So let me just give you an example of this. And I told this 5 years ago, so if you've been around that long, you've heard it. But it's a good one. So 5 years ago, I was planning a vacation down to South Carolina, and my friend lived down in that area. And a few weeks before I left, she posted on Facebook that she was out having lunch with the alligators, and she had a picture of an alligator there. And I wrote back and I said, "You don't have alligators running around down there." And she said, "Oh, yes, we do. They're pretty prevalent. You get used to them, though." Okay, so that is not the kind of vacation that I wanted. So I started exploring about alligators, just in case, you know? And I learned a little bit about their habits and their abilities, and it turns out they can run faster than a horse in short distances. So if you are close enough to one to actually see it, I'd say that's a short distance. So let me think, what else? I would start talking to people, you know, just, what do you know about alligators? You ever seen an alligator? And they would tell stories. And I went into the hairdresser. She said, "Oh, yeah, didn't you hear about the woman who lost her leg?" And I was doing a little bit more reading, and I saw some description of how an alligator behaved. And I literally threw my phone because what I saw just made me sick to my stomach. Not a good thing. So I went anyway to Charleston, and when I got there, I was in a VRBO condo, I guess, and I got into the house and I unpacked everything, and there was a back deck that backed up to, it was kind of sitting on a golf course, and there was waterways and stuff, so I went out the back door onto the deck, and what did I see? I'd say that's a short distance, wouldn't you? And I literally screamed aloud, "That is the law of attraction at work." Can you see why? Can you see how? There's absolutely no question that he was going to be there waiting for me, based on what? I had been radiating alligator frequencies for several weeks, to the point that I felt it in my stomach, right? That's what I'm talking about. If we do that enough. Now, that's an extreme case of our daily thoughts, probably not thinking a lot, any of you thinking a lot about that kind of stuff in your daily thoughts, but we do regularly focus on what we don't want, right? We're really good at knowing what we don't want, and so that's where we give our attention. Whether it's getting up in the morning and dreading going to work again because you have just decided that your boss is going to be his wonderful self, and you're not looking forward to that. Or you've been dealing with a chronic illness and it's got all of your attention and you can't help but think about it. Or you're dreading the end of the month when it comes time to pay the bills and you're not looking forward to that. So daily basis, including feelings, this is where our thoughts typically go. And at that point, some people turn to prayer. When they can't figure out mentally how to solve a problem, they turn to prayer. And I want you to give me an example of what people pray for. Just shout it out. What do people pray for? Health, money, love. Okay, those are the three basics right there. Health, money, and love. Okay? And let's take money as an example. I wasn't going to use that one, so Spirit must have something fun in mind here. So let's take money as an example. What is it that we expect God to do when we pray for money? I want you to really think about that. If you're serious about your prayer, what is it that you think God will do when you say, "Please give me some money"? Yeah, so just magically there will be a check in the mail signed by God. No. So what? So then how? How do we expect God to send us money? Ed McMahon, what? Through people. Yeah, through various people. So does that mean, let's just take people for example, does that mean that God is going to force another person to get up, go to the bank, get some money, and bring it to you? Okay, yeah. So when you think about this, that's kind of complicated, to expect God to go to these extremes to maybe either make you do something or make something incredibly weird happen, like you open your door and there is a pile of money waiting for you. But how often does that happen? You know, rarely do we get a pile of money show up on our doorstep. So I'm sure we can come up with a lot of excuses about why that works, but for the most part, we don't experience that kind of an answer where God is forcing someone else to do something on our behalf. Think about the 50% of the people who are going to go to the Super Bowl. 100% of the people could be praying for two different outcomes, right? Yeah. So what is God supposed to do with that? Is it sinking in here? Yeah. So does that mean when this team wins and this team loses that God likes them better and made them play better and made them play worse? Yeah. So this is a typical form of prayer that we never really think through. We pray for things to happen, but we never really think through how we expect God to make it happen. It becomes magic thinking. You know, that he's going to wave a wand and something's going to appear or happen because I'm so good and I deserve it, and they're bad and they don't deserve it. Okay, so you get where we're going here? Today, we're going to focus on using the law because law is very much involved in prayer. We're going to focus on how to use the law on purpose, consciously, for good. And it's going to involve prayer. Now, let me show you up here on the screen what Eric Butterworth says about this. Prayer is not conditioning God with your needs, begging for handouts from heaven. Rather, prayer is conditioning your life with the activity of God, causing a change in your tendency, your consciousness, and your awareness so that you can acknowledge that which already is. That's pretty big. Already is. So what was that important sentence? Prayer is conditioning your life with the activity of God. Conditioning your life is about changing your mind, about renewing your thinking, getting rid of old habits and opening up to the truth. God is not someone that we're going to convince to do something differently. Here's one of my favorite sayings that you always go, oh, God already has given all that God can give. And this is where we need to go back to week 1 of this series. If you didn't watch it, go back to week 1 of this series about what God is. Not a being on a throne that says, I like you, you're behaving well today, I don't like you, I'm going to withhold from you. I'm going to give you what you want. Not that kind of God. God is a presence and a power, the presence and the power, everywhere present, and the one power's nature is good. When we think of what God is, we think of God as the life energy in our bodies, not a God giving us health because we've been good and deserve it, but the life energy that animates our bodies. And we've talked about God as the substance, the spiritual energy that is the basis of all things that are manifest in this world. We talk about this as, when we want money, that the money doesn't come from a bank, that our supply doesn't come from our job. Our supply begins as spiritual energy that's everywhere present and infinite in nature. We need to know these things about God so that when it comes time to express them in our lives, we know where it comes from, we know what it is, we know how easy and available it is to experience in our lives, and then we start practicing that. So, prayer is not about asking God to give us something. If it's money that we're seeking, what we're seeking is spiritual substance, spiritual energy, and that's already present. If we're seeking health, we're seeking that divine life that's already present. It's intermingled with the physical body, and it's waiting to express itself. So that means if it's already present, we don't need to ask God for it. Here's what Charles Fillmore says. He's our co-founder of Unity. Do not supplicate or beg God for what you need, but get still and think about the inexhaustible resources of infinite mind, its presence in all its fullness, and its constant readiness to manifest itself. And what Eric Butterworth says about this, the wonderful part of the creative process is that the allness is ever seeking to fulfill itself in the eachness. Who's the eachness? Yes, it's the allness of God that is present in the individual at the point where he is. You cannot get away from the fullness, the allness of God. No matter where you go, it is there. It is within you. So this is why Jesus said, seek first the kingdom. When you're looking for it and you're not seeing it, it's because you're looking in the wrong place. Seek first the kingdom. In other words, turn your thoughts towards the spiritual dimension that's intermingled with us. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you and all around you. So seek that first, and then all the details will take care of themselves. If you're sitting there saying, I've heard this before, I'm going to stand here and say, then why aren't you doing it? Okay, that was nasty, sorry. And yet just a little bit true. Yeah, okay. So this right here, manifesting what we seek, this is what prayer is for. Manifesting the solutions to our problems. But that's not really the point of prayer. The point of prayer is to transform our consciousness. Once we transform the consciousness, then the circumstances will change, or we will change in how we see them and what we think about them. So the work is all here. And what we use in Unity, here's your tools for this week, is denials and affirmations. These are simple, short statements, little power statements that are easy to remember and that are pointed right towards the truth. So I call them consciousness conditioners. And they're the things that if we speak them aloud, a lot of times people say, well, that's just like magic incantations. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about reminding ourselves of what the truth is. It's really pretty basic. What is the truth about God in this situation? And when we go to denials, denials are statements, short statements, that basically call out the error in our thinking. So if this whole thing starts with feeling upset about something that's going on in our life, then the first thing that we are going to have is that upset feeling. That's a clue that there's something in us, some belief, some error thought that we're holding that's not true. But Kitty, I just got the diagnosis. It's true. But Kitty, I just overdrew my bank account. It's true that I have no money. Okay, so that's what we call facts. Circumstances are facts. In other words, we can see them with our physical eyes and say, there it is, but they're not truth. Can you hear the difference? A fact is something that's happening in this physical dimension, but it's not based on spiritual truth. There's only one power, remember? So even though we see physical circumstances that feel threatening to us, there is only one power. It's God, it's good, and it's waiting to be used. So we need to get into that state of consciousness, and we use these denials to point out what the error is. It basically says, that's not true. When it comes up and you feel worried and you recognize what the thought is, that I'm not worthy or there's not enough, then you feel scared or you feel angry or hurt, then you notice it and you say, oh, that's not true. That's not the truth about God. So the denial is saying no to the error. Up here on the screen are some examples. Let's read them out loud. That has no power over me. Nothing can keep me from God's good. That may be a fact, but it's not the truth. The simple statement of denial is no. No. When it comes up, when you get an image in your mind of falling on the ice, you go, no. I've done that. Tripping when you come out the door, I would come out my garage door and have steps to go down and have all this stuff in my arms. My grandma would call that a lazy man's load, which she is right about. But I came to the door and the first thought that came to my mind before I lifted my foot was me missing a stair or turning my ankle or something and things going flying and me breaking a leg or cracking my head open. And I literally come down and go, no! And I just keep walking to my car. Yeah, so that's a denial. So when the old story crops up, what we're doing is we're stopping it in its tracks. We're trying to unsettle that subconscious pattern that we've built up over time. And your clue when denial is necessary is a negative feeling in you. You're worried, you're upset, you're mad, you're doubtful. Any negative emotion is the clue to say, no, there's something in there that needs to be cleaned out. So then we work with affirmations. And affirmations are about affirming the truth of God in this situation. Affirming the truth of God. So this is how we, that guy that said, I believe, help my unbelief, use an affirmation to help you clear out the unbelief. I believe, that's where we want to get to. We're here to remind ourselves of our potential, to think about the resources that are available to us. And this is where we start to speak from the consciousness of God. How does God see this? Say those words out loud. So here's some examples up here. Let's say these together. God's healing life flows through me now. Divine love brings harmony to my relationships. Infinite substance supplies my every need. Okay, just looking at those, what are the qualities of God in that first statement? What's the one quality of God? Yes. What's the one in the second statement? Love. And what's the one in the third statement? Yeah, I capitalized them just so you could get this. get the feel for them. But the point is, that's what God is. So this is a prayer that's always true and works every time. Every time you say prayers like this, you're affirming the truth of God. That cannot be denied. That is what is true. So when we know that truth, that's when we feel lighter. That's when Jesus said, know the truth and it'll set you free. The freedom, you can feel it. You're lighter. You're more relieved when you're focused on truth. It's when we take a minute to just get still and start expecting. We say an affirmation, we think about it, we start to get expectant. And that creates emotion that feels good. And that is the number one power to activate divine law is emotion. When you think the thought and the thought comes with a feeling of doubt behind it, when you say an affirmation and it comes with a feeling of doubt behind it, your doubt's gonna win because it's a stronger energy. It's more active and connected to the law. So there's some practice to do. There's some regular attention to this. And what we're trying to get to is that feeling that's like, ooh, I'm looking forward to that. Even if you can't say, yay, thank you, you can at least get to, I'm looking forward to that. Wouldn't it be cool if, until you start to feel the lightness of it? And we practice these affirmative prayers or statements, let's call them statements, until those feelings agree, knowing that your subconscious can't disagree. It doesn't have the ability to decide, oh, I don't like that, I'm not gonna let that in. It lets it all in. The point is we have to get to a tipping point where now we're letting more in of truth and less in of error. And when you get to that feeling of anticipation and joy and gratitude, you know you're there, that you're getting to the tipping point, and that's what's starting to take hold in your subconscious. If you don't know what I'm talking about with subconscious, go back to the second week of this message series and watch that video. Okay, so one of the things, one of my teachers is Esther Hicks, and up here on the screen, here's what she says. If we were to concentrate our attention on one idea for a mere 17 seconds, we would experience as much benefit as if we had labored full-time for an entire year. That's pretty amazing. 17 seconds, I'm thinking, oh, 17 seconds, I could do that. So I close my eyes and I start to think about something that I want, and within 3 seconds, I've already moved over to, but what if, or that's not true, or I've got plenty of evidence to the contrary, or I don't have the ability to do that, and remember when so-and-so tried that and it didn't work? Anybody have that problem? Yeah. So if we could just get in there for 17 seconds, and affirmations written out, spoken aloud, will help us get there. So what we want is a good, solid energy that's going to activate that law for good on purpose. And when we really want to get involved with this process, we use affirmative prayer, not just affirmation, that simple statement, but affirmative prayer, which is kind of the involved process for creating something in your life. And this is when we turn to the bingo prayer. And if you've ever taken power prayer with me, in the meditation room after a service, you know the bingo prayer. So I'll call on you. Let's see, who do I know has taken this? Susan? No, just kidding. We're going to learn this bingo prayer as an acronym so that we will remember it. And you don't have to do it in exactly this order. It doesn't have to turn out exactly this way, but this is just meant to be helpful. Am I talking fast enough for you? Let me take a breath. Okay. This is our creative tool. So bingo, B, the letter B stands for begin with God. And when we talk about beginning, okay, so we're not flashing these up one at a time. You got the whole thing here in front of you. So go ahead, take your pictures, get it over with. And then I want you to stay with me, okay, on whichever one I'm talking about, so you don't get confused about this. B for bingo, begin with God. And what that basically means is that as we're beginning our prayer process, the first thing we're doing is turning within and getting conscious of the presence of God. That presence is within me and all around me. That it is the divine qualities of life and love and substance and intelligence. That I can never be separate from it. That it is for my good. That it's the only power working in my life. When you get into that presence of God consciousness, it creates a sense of relief. Oh, that's right. I was so wound up with it being my boss in charge of my life. But no. Here I am in the presence of God. And that's the only power working in my life. That's what we mean. Start your prayer in that consciousness. Begin with God. The I in bingo stands for include yourself. Include yourself. So this is recognizing we're not praying to a God over there. We're praying to a God expressing as me. I know that's hard for some of us. But only one presence. Therefore, it must be me expressing as God on my good days when I'm awake. That presence of God is me. So I don't have to reach out far away and hope God is hearing. I acknowledge that God and I are one. That what I am praying God is, I am. No separation. There's only one of us here. So that means when you're praying for something as if it's missing, suddenly it comes right here and says, oh, here it is. It's in me because I'm God expressing. So include yourself. The N in bingo is to name the truth. And this is where it gets a little bit more involved. We'll talk about this in a minute. But naming the truth is about affirming whatever divine quality God is that applies to your situation. We'll talk about all of them, but just know that whatever's going on for you, whatever brought you to prayer in the first place, turn towards a quality of God that applies to this situation. Name the truth. And thirdly, give thanks. Give thanks. I know at some point it's difficult to be grateful for something that hasn't already happened. But Jesus would tell us, pray and believe that you've already received it. Well, when you get something that's good, don't you say, thank you, I've got it, it's good, thank you. Well, let's try this. I want it, it's good, thank you. Wait, says the subconscious. Where is it? I want it, it's done, so it is, I'm grateful. That's part of our work here, is transforming the mind. You're telling the subconscious, you be grateful whether you like it or not. Just kidding. Say, I'm thankful that God is the only power and presence in my life, that this divine quality is active in my life. It's already done, so it is. Give thanks. That is what activates feelings in you, which then animates the law in response. So we want to get to that feeling of gratitude. And O is for over and out. When we make this statement and we feel its doneness and we give thanks for it, let it go. So many times we keep checking in with it. How's it going? Where is it? Why isn't it here yet? How come they've got it and I don't have it? No, surrender and let it go. Let the universe do its work. It has the highest picture. It knows where the resources are. The work is happening. Our job is just to set it free to do the work. As soon as we start looking for where it is and when is it going to get here, we stop the work. And we are saying to the universe, it's not here. And so the universe, the law, can only reply back with, you're right, it's not here. We don't want that. Over and out. Let go, let God. So here's a sample prayer with those 5 steps involved. And it will help you if you say this out loud. So let's read it together. God is the only presence and power in my life. One with spirit, I radiate the wholeness of God. Centered in God, I accept for myself, and here's a whole bunch of qualities of God that we could name depending on what our deal is together. Radiant health and wholeness, unlimited supply flowing freely in my life, harmony in my relationships, peace in my heart, wisdom to guide me to the best outcome. Thank you, God, that all things are working together for the highest good. I release and let go and let Spirit do its perfect work. So that includes all the steps of the bingo prayer. And it's up to us to fill in the blanks according to what our desire is. But this is absolute truth. There is absolutely nothing in there that anybody can argue with. Everything that we've said here in this prayer is the truth of God. There is nothing in here that is mistaken or doesn't work. That's why I call this the prayer that never fails. Because all you're doing here is talking about the truth of God in you and in your life. That is so cool. The prayer that never fails. Choose any one of those in the N category that fits your needs, or fill in your own, speaking the truth of God, and then we watch it unfold. That's what we're in the process of doing here. So this whole idea of prayer today is about recognizing there is a law that's always working, whether we know it or not, and its job is to bring back to you in manifestation whatever it is that you've been holding in your own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. And we're here to renew our mind, what our thoughts and feelings and beliefs are about, changing our focus to divine qualities, and to affirm regularly the truth about God. So this is transforming the mind when we're in trouble, and also using this whole process to create what our heart desires. So knowing the allness of God and the qualities that we've been talking about with God is step one, which is why that's where we started in this series. Now, the thing is that most of us, when we pray, we're trying to get to the end result as quickly as possible. We want to hold it in our hands. We want to eat it. We want to spend it. We want to feel it in our health. But I'm going to invite you to look at this as a process where every step along the way is meant to be fun too. That's really our purpose for being here in this creative process, is not just to keep getting to the end result and going on to the next, but actually noticing the process along the way and giving thanks. So for instance, we have a fundraiser going on. And I was looking back through my notes this week and I noticed, wow, we've been talking about this since at least September. The board started talking about this in September. What should we do? What would be right? We're looking for our annual fundraiser, and we came upon this idea to tear down a wall and to create this community space. Well, that should be celebrated before we even take a step in that direction. Wow, look at this cool idea that came in. Isn't that fun? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rick. And then we sat there and thought, we need a name for this. What could the name be? And we decided, well, it's all about creating community, and we tried out different things, and ultimately we came up with Better Together. We should sit there and celebrate Better Together. Yay, that's really fun. That's so cool. That's the truth, right? Better Together. Okay, so what's next? Well, then we started thinking about how we're going to present this to the congregation, and we decided we'd have this town hall meeting. We told you what was happening. We told you facts. Do you remember us telling you facts about where we were in our financial report? And then we told you what we were going to do to bring in the truth and express what God is in an infinite, substantial way. So we came up with this idea, and we watched your faces as you heard the facts. You didn't like the facts. We saw that. But then when we got to the idea of the truth, and what the potential is and where our resources would come from, you got excited. You started coming up with ideas, and you wanted to get involved, and you filled out forms, and you made commitments. And little by little, we are starting to unfold this dream, this vision that we have, and it's fun in the process. So that's the kind of thing where it's not like, where is it? Why isn't it here? This isn't working. It's more about what happened today. Ooh, that was cool. Yeah, I saw that as a sign. Thank you, Spirit. That was very fun. And you just keep hanging in there with it. What that does is it gets your energy up here where Spirit is in that higher frequency. And then the law can just keep happening and keep working for you and keep projecting and unfolding what it is that you're trying to create. I am talking a lot. I have to stop now. Holy cow. All right, well, you get the idea, right? All right, so let's just take a look one more time what Ernest Holmes has to say. Prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an active acceptance of his highest willingness, recognizing spiritual law and putting ourselves in alignment with it. God's active our active acceptance of his highest willingness, knowing it's already being given. Now it's just about us accepting. So let's take some time in prayer and meditation here, and let's see what this all is about. Gotta let out some of that liveliness. Woo! Okay. Let's take a moment to just feel our shoulders relax and our hands open and our feet feeling solid, supported with our chair, supported by Mother Earth. knowing that the very energy and vibrancy of this planet is God expressing. Feeling that power, knowing that oneness, recognizing that our heart's desire is already in the heart of God, already complete, already provided for. That this presence of love is continually, joyfully giving. And in this presence, we allow it to settle in our hearts and to be known in us. I can never be separate from this power. Only God's good is working in my life. That goodness is working in my body as divine life. That life energy that renews, that calms and soothes and balances, that is present in me now, and I am grateful. God's spiritual energy, everywhere present, supplies my every need. Before I call, the divine has already answered. We plant our divine ideas into this substance, knowing it supports this manifestation easily, fully, and freely. I give thanks for the presence of love here, the very nature of God power. I trust this divine love to bring harmony to every situation in my life. That harmonizing power, even now, is calling forth good, is seeing only good, is manifesting only good. And with a grateful heart, I'm open and receptive to God's infinite wisdom. All that I need to know comes clearly to mind as I need it. Divine Mind knows the perfect solution to every situation I face, and my mind shares in that one mind. So I too know the truth. Before I call, God has answered, and I am grateful. I let go of the details and let Spirit do its perfect work. knowing all things are working together for the highest good. So it is, and now I let it be. Amen.